The following is a Papi Chulo Radio original program. The views and opinions expressed in the commentaries and/or interviews in the following program are solely those of the individuals and are not views of Papi Chulo Radio, its parent, affiliate, or subsidiary companies.
Welcome to Are You Afraid Scream Queens, the unofficial Scream Queens internet radio show exclusively on PapiChuloRadio.com. Papi Chulo Radio, pop culture on demand. Today is Wednesday, October 12th, 2016, and I'm your host, Jeffrey Aruz. During tonight's broadcast, we're going to recap, review, and dissect the latest episode of Fox's Scream Queens. Please welcome my co-hosts, Prince Rico Suave.
What's poppin'? What's poppin'? What's poppin'?
And Priscilla Rocha.
My opening is not as funny as that or as awesome, but hey guys, what's up?
There you go. So listeners, it's the three of us. I'm joined by PP, P squared, the two Ps that co-host the show.
That totally doesn't sound good at all.
I know there's not a sexy way to say P times two, but
Well, we could do P number 1 and P number 2 like the Chanel's.
oh, there you go. But I think Priscilla's P number 1.
I don't
Well,
know which
damn.
is better or which is worse.
I know, right?
What is one?
There you go. So let's jump into our recap of Season 2, Episode 3, which is titled Handidates, and aired October 11th, 2016. Here's the official synopsis of the episode. Determined to find out who the killer is, Dean Munch, Denise, and the Chanels question Hester, as well as the sole survivor of the Halloween massacre. Chad accuses Brock of being the killer and makes a shocking proposal to Chanel. Meanwhile, a new patient with an outrageous disorder leads Chanel number 3 and Cassidy to grow closer, and another victim crashes a celebration. All right, let's get into it. I want to get everyone's initial reaction to the episode, and we'll start off with P number 1, Priscilla.
Thank you. All of the episodes before this have been kind of like quick paced and like I liked the huge amount of deaths. Shout out to Wilson. But this one felt slow to me for some reason. Maybe it's because like it was one death at the beginning and one death at the end, and they don't really matter because they're just people that you met for like 5 seconds as new patients. But I don't know. This episode didn't do it for me.
All right, what about you, P number 2?
Well, I will agree with Priscilla in the sense that it was a filler episode. I think maybe the little gap, how we already went on a break for a moment, that might have played into like Priscilla's like feelings towards the episode, because like at this point last year we would have already been further, but because of the debate and all that crap, we had to take a pause. So it kind of feels like we should be further in the story than where we actually are.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so you feel like the
overall,
break
I felt like
sort
it
of
was a
stopped
filler.
the hype?
Yeah. Like I think it kind of put a little pause onto it. I think, the momentum will gradually grow back as, we go back into it. But I do feel like these little breaks might give it like little hiccups because we didn't have to really endure them as much last year.
Mm-hmm. Okay, I get that. I enjoyed the episode. I'm really enjoying the season as a whole. I liked what we saw. Was it filler E? I can agree a little bit with that. I feel like they were wrapping up some loose ends from last season, in a sense, a little bit, in particular because of one of the characters and what happened to the character at the end. And I did enjoy some of the backstory, the little bit of backstory that we got about the Green Meanie and the massacre, and the deaths that we did see. I thought were really spectacular, especially the one that happens towards the end of the episode with a new character is what I'll say. So overall, I thought it was an enjoyable episode. I can get though why people, in particular Prince, mentioned that it was kind of fillery. So I completely understand. So before we get into our thorough recap of the latest episode of Scream Queens, here's our announcer with a few reminders on how you can interact with us.
Follow Poppy Chula Radio on social media. We are on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, at Poppy Chula Radio. Do you have any questions, suggestions, comments, or concerns? Email us via contact@poppychularadio.com. Are you interested in joining the Poppy Chula Radio team as an on-air personality? Email talent@poppychularadio.com. Binge listen to your favorite Poppy Chula Radio programs by visiting poppychularadio.com/archives. You can also download tonight's broadcast and the rest of the series through iTunes. Just search for Are You Afraid? Scream Queens, and subscribe.
Thanks, announcer. So let's get into it. We pick up exactly where we left off with Chanel Oberlin announcing that there's a new serial killer, and that new serial killer is Chanel number 5. She accuses Chanel number 5 of killing Tyler. She also accuses Chanel number 5 of having been one of the killers from last season because, she just had to have killed some bodies. And number 3 suggests that Hester, they need to get her into the hospital. We need to find those expired beauty products, and we need to get her a room in this hospital because she seems to know what's going on. And Chanel's like, no, we can't have her here. She's going to try to kill us. And so they all decide to store Tyler's body in the meat locker again. But number 3 is like, but whenever we did that last time, the bodies kept on disappearing. And then all of a sudden, we have Dr. Kathy Munch appearing, and she asks what's going on, and so they cut to the Chanels and Munch. They are bringing the stretcher that has Tyler's body through a dark hallway. Number 5 wants to call the police, but Munch fears that the publicity of all these crimes and this whole serial killer thing with the hospital will force them to shut the hospital down. And of course, Munch can't have that. She's like, she might die. And they're like, what? She's like, oh, I'll die because of all the money that I put into this. She doesn't let them know about the uncurable disease that she has. And so they push the body outside into the swamp, and they're ready to toss Tyler's body into the swamp. Number 5 has a moment to say goodbye to Tyler. And when she hugs him, his body sort of like
Throws up?
Basically. I didn't know how to put it, but yes. Much to Chanel Oberlin's surprise. And Munch suspects that one of the staff must be involved in this, must be the killer. And she even suspects the Chanels. And the 4 toss Tyler into the swamp. There was an interesting camera angle that made it appear as if someone was watching them. And Munch I know, right? Munch tells them all not to speak of this, and she leaves. And Chanel number 5 obviously is still heartbroken, but the other Chanels tell her to get over it. So let's talk about this opening scene with now another body getting tossed into the swamp. I feel like this is going to be a recurring theme.
Yeah,
Wait,
the swamp might be the new meat locker.
Was the person that there's only been one, right? Dumped into the swamp, and that's the person in the past that might be the Green Meanie?
That we know of, yes.
Yeah, as of right now.
Just needed to put those two together.
Well, because
It-
one body's missing, other one was decapitated.
all I've got to say is that this show's pretty good at, like, if it's gonna retread its like same format, it calls that shit out. Because Chanel, what was it? Chanel #3 was just kind of like, we put everybody in the meat locker, and virtually all of them were taken away.
Yeah, that was hilarious because it was true.
It was. I'm glad that they are self-aware. That I like that, and it makes it even funnier. So
And
back
if they're
at
not as stupid as we
Okay.
think they are, that they noticed.
yeah, no, yeah, and I like that. I mean, we all think that they're sort of oblivious to everything that's going on around them, but they notice stuff, even though they are very over the top about their feelings. I mean, they know what's going on. So back at the hospital, we see Chad Radwell's friend Randy testing out to see if anything scares him, and he is amazed that he is cured. Apparently, all those lava lamps calmed him down enough so that nothing around him seems to startle him into a screaming fit. So he leaves his room. And he's like, hey, my screaming stopped. I think I'm cured. What's going on? And of course, it's one of those creepy, dark, with the light flickering hallways and no one is around. Then suddenly, the elevator doors open. Ding! And I think we all knew what was coming. There is the green meanie. This time with like a hook shaped machete, like it's like almost like a sickle type of thing, right? Is that what we would call it?
Yeah, it looks
Yeah.
like a wheat thresher or whatever the fuck it's called. Like,
Something from the farm,
Yeah,
yeah.
that's what they would see in the farm, yeah.
Exactly. And so he's like, oh, okay, you know what? You're not going to startle me. Is this some sort of test? What's going on? But it's okay, You do look kind of creepy, but you know what? You're not scaring me. I'm not screaming anymore. I'm good, I feel strong. I'm healthy and everything. And he even approaches the green meanie, and the killer violently slashes Randy's chest. And in the beginning, he's kind of like okay with it. Like he doesn't seem to be in pain, but once he slashes it for a second time,
Yeah, the first slash, he just like ate that. I was like, bro, like that's skin deep. Like,
I know
good.
it was almost like the adrenaline must have taken over because that was kind of weird because he was kind of like okay with it. It wasn't until the second time that he starts screaming and yelling for help and all this kind of stuff, and then the green meanie slices and dices him even more, and then we assume that he was killed by all those slashes from the green meanie. Now, did we like that Randy died? He actually made it to 2 episodes, if you think about it.
Yeah, but his only lines were screaming before that. So
Yeah,
again,
they were only
I
like
feel like
screaming.
we didn't get to know him. Plus, on a super superficial note, he's really cute. Colton Haynes is really cute. Stop killing off cute guys. Like I want to see more of them on the screen. I want to have a handsome off with all of these gentlemen that are coming on the show. Except maybe not Colton Haynes' character right off the bat, because that guy really did look like the grapes and fucking Fruit Loops. That was great.
Right.
I love that joke.
I did like that he lasted 2, but like Priscilla said, we didn't know nothing about him. Now, if it was like Colton Haynes, who we learned a little bit about, or like Chewbacca Girl, who we learned a little bit about, and they
Chewbacca
lasted
Girl.
2 episodes, it would have been like, all right, that's word. Like now we're content. You've made us content with keeping a patient alive. But either way, you killed the patient, which leaves no patients. So it brings our total back down to 0.
I know, right? Like, they've had some successful patients, but they have no proof of their success, which is kind of sad.
Absolutely. I'm like, maybe if they could get like maybe a batch of like 10, like how we had the sorority girls, we got to watch them get picked off. Like maybe if they started us off introducing us to like all 10 patients or something like that, and then start picking them off, it would have been like a little bit more better.
Well, if you think about it, I mean, this is a working hospital. There've got to be more patients there. I think the ones that we've seen are like the incurable disease people, but there've got to be other patients there because we've seen the hospital before, and there's obviously like Nurse Hoffel and all these other nurses that are there. So there've got to be like other patients there that the Green Meanie can pick off at some point. One would think, at least,
Yeah,
right?
absolutely. And like even if he just picks them off just to pick them off, just to like show his presence, like that would be content. Like I'd be content with that. Just show us more than who you're just introducing us to.
Yeah, that's true. So Munch and the Chanels, they visit Hester at the asylum again, and they demand to know who the killer is. Like, who's the killer? You need to tell us. You know who it is. And they explain that the killer has killed two, and that there's another patient that's missing, aka Randy. And so Hester basically repeats that the clues are like right in their faces. Like the clue to who the Green Meanie is right there. They just can't see it. And so she demands to be transferred to the Cure Institute and for all the stuff that she wanted. She wants a room with a view and all this kind of stuff. Munch is like, nope. And she even gives her a VHS copy of the film A Room with a View, which I thought was very clever.
Hilarious.
So
that was the
props to you,
scene ever when
Dr. Dean.
When she slammed that video on the window. It said,
yeah, that was fantastic.
One of your demands.
Shit, in a world of Blu-ray, you give someone a VHS, that's a slap in the face.
Well, do you really think that there's a Blu-ray player in the asylum? I'm just saying.
I think she just gave her the VHS tape without a VHS at all. I think that's all she's getting.
Right? Like, I don't know.
Well, that could have been it too. Yeah. So Hannibal Hester says they're running out of time, and that the more that they wait for the transfer, that the more outrageous her demands are going to get, and the more that the Green Meanie will kill. I mean, she even demands a timeshare condo and all this kind of stuff, but she kind of gets rebuffed by them, and Chanel demands to know, reveal to us who the killer is, and Hester tells Chanel that her skin is dry and needs some cream, and in particular she says she needs some S-Run cream. And then the dean gets a text, and she says, well, don't worry, I just got a text from Chad Radwell, and he says he knows who the killer is, so we don't need you. And they leave, and obviously Hannibal Hester is not happy at all. I am loving what they're doing with Hester this season. I love that she being Leah Michelle gets a chance to just go all out and be batshit crazy.
Yeah, it's hilarious. I think, I live for, the Hester meetup scenes, to be honest with you, because she's batshit crazy.
Yeah.
And I think the demands are just hilarious. I think, I'm like, what the fuck are you thinking, Hester? Really? What made you think of these demands? Some of them, they're so far-fetched and out there.
Yeah, it's off
she makes
completely.
me feel dumb though as a viewer, because she's like, the clues are all there, and I'm like, fuck,
yeah,
I'm missing something. How the fuck?
It's right
does she
there
know
in your face, and you guys can't figure it out. And I'm like, fuck you, Hester.
As a side note, too,
Yeah.
I love the jokes in the background. When they start walking in, I think it's Chanel number 3 gives a kiss to one of the insane asylum, in which she blows one.
Yeah. She blows a kiss over to them. I'm like, what the fuck is going on? Just like when they threw the birthday cake at them the last time.
And she started eating it.
And she ate it, and she eats it off of her. Yeah, Chanel number 3 is awesome. I think if any Chanel needs to ever survive, it's her.
Yeah, all of them are fantastic in their own unique kind of way. And I loved how they approached Hester this time. She was like, we're not here, as this. We're not here because of that. We're here because we are Chanel's. And I'm like, do you really think she's thinking like that right now?
Right? No,
I thought that was funny.
No, she's that shit crazy. But it was smart for them to try to use it as their ploy.
Yeah, but obviously it didn't work. So heading back to the Cure Institute, Chad is basically giving his theory as to who the killer is, and he accuses Holt of being the killer, and he explains the whole thing that we learned in the previous episode about Holt's serial killer hand, and he's like, well, of course, haven't you seen those movies where someone gets a hand, and then the hand is possessed, and then the hand ends up killing everybody, and so of course it has to be Holt. It's one of the most notorious serial killer's hands, so he's the serial killer, he's killing everybody, you need to get rid of him, and I need to be with Chanel. And so they get into an argument about their sperm, and Munch, he actually ends up filling Holt in that he's slept with both women that are in the room, Chanel and Munch, and Chanel ends up actually defending herself and basically saying, you know what, I'm choosing me, basically. I'm not going to choose you. I'm not going to choose rich versus richer. I'm not going to choose you versus the other. I choose myself. And then Munch, ends up interjecting and stating that Chad was the worst lay that she ever had in her life. Because I guess that was relevant to the conversation.
Because he was. She fucking complained about it season 1, so it's a great callback. But I fucking love how Dr. Holt comes up with a joke out of nowhere. He's just kind of when Chad is mentioning hey, he's got the hand of a murderer. He just kind of looks at Chanel and is like, no, it's not true.
Yes, he did.
And she was like, yeah, what about that idle hand thing? He's like, oh, I just like to put on plays and stuff. And I was like, freaking idiots.
No, and he's got the most expensive sperm or whatever that was beautiful.
The most
requested.
That shit. Oh god.
It's a whole lot of jism.
Mm-hmm. They're gonna have a sperm off.
They're gonna have a sperm off. Yes.
I'm like, only Chad can think of these crazy terms that
yes,
go so far beyond where they should be.
Yeah. Speaking of a whole lot of jism, we have our new patient. Played by Sherry O'Terry of SNL fame. And she has an odd syndrome. Basically, she is like a chronic orgasm receiver. She has a persistent persistent genital arousal disorder.
Yeah, I've seen that on TV.
Yeah, I saw it on TLC.
Yeah.
So I was just glad to see Sherry O'Terry. I heard that she was gonna come out this season. I was like, when? I love her. I loved her on SNL. So to see her and to see her have fucking funny ass syndrome, it's great.
Yeah. So poor Sheila, she's a yoga instructor, and after teaching a class and getting into a particular position, she has uncontrollable orgasms every few minutes. It's several hundred during the day, and she would like this affliction to stop because it's ruined her life. She can't go anywhere, she can't do yoga, she can't do this, that, the other. Her husband left her, realizing that she had been faking her orgasms throughout her entire marriage, which I guess that's what ends up happening. I don't think lava lamps are going to cure this, but Dr. Cascade is in charge of this case, and he's going to figure out how to cure her. So later on, Cascade and Number 3 are together. They're cleaning up the morgue because apparently some guy named Chad Radwell was practicing hand surgery by chopping off cadavers' hands in the morgue, which I thought was interesting. And they're Number 3 and Cascade open up to each other because Chanel Number 3 explains to Cascade how she doesn't feel alive. She doesn't feel anything. If she could feel something right now, she'd be crying. But she doesn't feel anything inside her. She has no emotions. And so Cascade reveals to her about something that happened to him. And apparently when he was a junior, after I think it was a lacrosse game or something, or at a lacrosse party or something like that, or something with the lacrosse team, he ended up getting wasted, and he had always been told that if you're wasted, you can't fall asleep on your back, because when you vomit, you will choke on the vomit, and then you will die. Well, as you know, he's drunk as a skunk, and his lacrosse teammates toss him on the bed, and he's laying on his back. He ends up vomiting, but the next morning he wakes up and he's covered in vomit, but he's still alive. But he notices that his life is completely different. You know, dogs don't bark at him anymore. He can't get warm, and all this kind of stuff. So he confesses to her that he is dead.
As I get why they're doing it, because like, he was on Twilight and he was a werewolf, and now he's a vampire. Now he's a vampire in essence because he's dead. But I was more interested in the fact that like Chanel mentions that she can't have orgasms, or she's never had one, and she just looks really apathetic about it, like she always does. And he's like,
Yeah, that she thought that the grunting was to tell him to get off, that you were done.
Yes.
Oh god, that throw up though was gross. Today, this was the episode of throw up because the corpse threw up and so did he. Blah.
I know, right? It was a
so
recurring
gross.
theme.
So gross.
I wonder if he says he's dead. I wonder if he just has one of those quote-unquote incurable diseases. Could you imagine if it's Chanel number 3 that figures it out and she cures him?
Well, she showed this episode that she's pretty smart.
Yeah, and I kind of am with you on that one. I was like, dude, like, you threw up in your sleep. Like, I think you would have known if you started choking. I think you'd
Nah.
have
Says the expert.
Well, I would think you would have recollection. I was just saying, I every time I choke, I know I'm choking.
Oh, okay. Oh my. That's sharing a bit much with us,
Hey,
Prince.
If Jimi Hendrix died like that way, according to the episode, I didn't know that, then I guess like other people can too and not realize it. Although I'm fairly certain you're right in that he has an incurable disease, but that would suck because we've seen all of these episodes. If you have an incurable disease and you're cured at that institute, you're going to die.
Yeah. Hashtag facts. Very true. So we have another scene in which Chad and Holt meet in the showers. And basically the point of the scene is for Chad to, well, not only compare penis sizes, but to let Holt know that he will be the one that will find his hand replacement and that he himself is going to perform the surgery. Why he thinks this can happen, I don't know, but this, of course, is the Scream Queen's universe. But he feels that because this is a teaching hospital, he's going to learn something from doing the surgery himself on Holt. And for those that were wondering about the penis size contest, there was a tie, because apparently, as Chad said, their junk is the same size.
As you would know, like one of the lines that I laughed my ass off about, and it wasn't even like fucking that funny now that I think about it, but like when he's just there, he's like, "What the fuck are you doing here? Just airing up my scrotes, bro."
No, I thought that's
Yes, I love how you had to repeat it.
He like said it a few times too, which made it.
Well, because that, you know, that's not the typical thing that people hear, and so I can understand Holt's confusion. Like, what? He's just airing out my scrotes. I'm like, oh, okay. That's a thing, apparently.
Also, like, just as like a side note to like the plot, I feel like this is the second time. I get that like it's a shower scene and yay fan service for us, but like I feel like there's a reason why they keep panning to his tattoo during like
Oh, absolutely.
the scene,
Because he said it's Harvard and it's not the Harvard emblem, and he says it's a Harvard
Interesting.
emblem.
Yeah.
Our roving reporter, Prince Rico Suave. I like that. He's done the research.
Not even that. I used to take classes there, so
Well, excuse me.
What a
you
badass.
ain't gonna fool me. I was like, that's not the Harvard emblem unless they're like not allowed to use it.
Well, that could be it too. Maybe they created their own Harvard emblem.
Yeah.
Or maybe not, because it is true that they do
way
pan to it.
Yeah, but the way they're panning on
It's like whenever he gets out the shower, it's usually with his back, and like or he turns around really quick, and so like there's a focus on that tattoo, and it's like it's also like really big and gaudy.
Yeah, I think we're gonna learn about that. I think like during like Zayday's investigation, she's gonna come across like that emblem.
Okay, interesting. A secret society. Speaking of Zayday, Munch, her Chanel nurses, Zayday, and our homegirl, Special Agent, I was about to call her detective, Special Agent Denise Hemphill, visit the house of the only living witness of the Halloween massacre from the 80s. So this individual was one of the nurses. They became extremely rich because they patented a cream called Esrun cream. And so Zayday, with her detective skills, as Prince mentioned, she did a little bit of research on Esrun cream, and it just, everything sort of pinged together, and it led them to this home. And so we are introduced to the sole survivor by the name of Lynn Johnston, and he explains how he had just started taking psyllium husk supplements, and let's just say everything was running through his system during that Halloween party. So while he rushed to the bathroom to take what we can only assume was a massive dump, and as everything was leaving his system, literally, and he was, I guess, screaming in agony or the pleasure of everything shooting out.
Remember, he was
He
singing.
did not.
Yeah,
He was singing?
doing vocalizations to help.
Yes,
He was doing
vocalizations.
vocalizations. Well, there you go. As he was doing vocalizations to make sure everything comes out, he did not hear what was going on outside. And when he left the restroom, he noticed that everyone on that particular floor was dead. Patients, hospital staff, everybody was dead on that floor. And he has his own theory as to who the killer could be. He said that he believes it is the wife of this patient, a particular patient, and it's the patient that we know, but this is now the patient that they're being introduced to on the show. He explains that the previous year there had been the murder of a patient. It's the person that we saw in the premiere episode. Nurse Thomas had confided in him a couple weeks before that Halloween party, and she was very fearful of Halloween because of everything that happened and what they did. So he believes that the killer is the wife of the patient, and he also had explained that she was pregnant, and so everyone else kind of is like, well, maybe it could also be the baby, because the baby would be 30 years old.
Ooh.
Yes. And so they start, when they return and they start talking about who it could be, they start spouting, names. They're like, okay, well, do you think it's Cassidy? Do you think it's Chamberlain? Do you think it's Chad Radwell? And everyone's like, Chad Radwell? He can't be him. He's our age. And Denise fills them all in that when they were hooking up, Chad confessed to her that he was held back in second grade 8 times.
God damn. The second grade.
How dumb are you?
No offense to people who got held back in the second grade. I feel sorry for you. But what the fuck do you learn in the second grade that's so goddamn hard? 8 goddamn times? I feel so bad for Chad Redwell, but he's so dumb. I can kind of see how that happened.
Yeah, and they also said that one of the reasons why he also fits the killer's description is because that he's about 6 feet tall, which is what they said, is about the height of the Green Meanie.
But the fact that he got kept back in the second grade 8 times, you should just know he's not smart enough to friggin' really get away with this.
Or maybe it's all a front and he's been smart the entire time.
I don't know.
No, he's not.
I was gonna say 8 times, I don't know.
No, he's dumb as a bag of rocks. He's real dumb.
I think we're doing a good job, though, with our predictions, because they kind of gave the names that we think, which I thought was kind of neat.
I thought it was kind of weird, and this is just bad super sleuthing, but still, that Zayday was really surprised that it could be Chamberlain. She acted almost too surprised. It's Chamberlain? No, he's my friend. Like, are you involved in this somehow, Zadie? I think Special Agent Denise Hemphill has like started to started to influence me because I'm kind of suspicious of Zadie, especially after
Oh,
this
you mean
episode.
that's some good sleuthing, Zayday? Some too good of a sleuthing.
Mhm.
Yeah. Oh, Denise Hemphill. She's rubbing off on you, Priscilla. P number 1.
You know, if it's her, it's not bad. It could have been worse. It could have been Chad Redwell's rubbing off on you, and then I'd be like, fuck, damn it, I don't want to be dumb.
Oh gosh, that's too much. Well, speaking of Chad, after having like another chat with Holt and that kind of thing, he ends up proposing to Chanel Oberlin in the park with mariachis and everything, even pulling out a gigantic prenup and all this kind of stuff. But Chanel doesn't really pay attention to it. She feels like this is her fairy tale come to life, no matter what. Although the moment right when she arrives at the park was hilarious because she was like, I brought a stun gun because I thought you were the killer because you've never asked me to a park and you've never asked me to talk a lengthy conversation. We've never had a lengthy conversation in the entire time that we've known each other. But she goes with the flow and she gets proposed to. And she says yes, of course, as she should. And as Chad embraces Chanel and gets ready to kiss her, he notices that Holt is lurking behind a tree, watching the proposal from afar. But after they kiss, he looks back up to see if he's still there, and he's not.
Creeper be creeping. Like, that was...
I know, right?
Chad Redwell totally took his idea, though. Like, he's like, I'm gonna go and I'm gonna propose to her, and Chad beat him to it.
But you know what? McScreamy should have never let Chad know his plan. You don't tell an idiot your plan, especially since you know he would have never came up with it on his own.
I love that phrase, McScreamy. That is perfect for this series. You've done good,
Right.
number 2.
Yes!
That's so funny. So Chanel is ready to plan her wedding. She's got the rock, and it's a special whore cut for those that are out there, wondering. It's got its own Wi-Fi hotspot and LoJack system and everything. And she talks to the Chanels. She asks Chanel number 3 to be one of her bridesmaids. She asks, which this surprised me to be quite honest, Zayday to be one of her bridesmaids. And then she asks Chanel number 5 to be the ring bearer. But not just a regular ring bearer, because right now, doggies as ring bearers are all the rage. So she asks Chanel number 5 to dress up in a dog suit and to walk on all fours and to carry the ring on a pillow that's strapped to her back like a saddle.
I think it's just to dig it into Chanel number 5 more that nobody likes her. We've obviously been more close, Chanel number 5, but we're not close. Zayday's more close than I am. She'll be a bridesmaid. You can be the
Right?
dog.
Can you? When she said that line, she was like, "We're not even that close." I was like, "That was fantastic.
Ice cold.
That was so good." On the other side of things, Chad makes a surprising decision, and he's like, I've lost all my friends. All my friends seem to die. I don't really have anybody. Holt, will you be my best man? And Holt is surprised, of course, as he should be. And after talking and all this kind of stuff, and even I think Chad confessing that he knows he's going to cheat, and they're probably going to get a divorce and all this kind of stuff, and Holt is like, well, don't worry, I'll be there after the divorce to be able to pick her up and put her back together and to have sex with her a billion times. But as all this stuff is going on, Chad needs help putting his bow tie on, and he asks Holt to help him, and it almost looked as if Holt was ready to strangle him with his serial killer hand. But it doesn't go that far just yet, at least. He did put the bow tie on a little extra tight, though, for him.
Yeah, I don't know how to tie bow ties, so I have no fucking clue if that's as tight as you need to make it, but that looked like he was choking him for a while, like he was going to kill him.
Oh no, that was attempted murder.
Mm-hmm.
Oh gosh.
No doubt about it. It was attempted murder. But
I
he
fucking
reset.
sorry. I loved the line where he's just kind of like, I wanted to save my brothers for the second wedding because that's the one that sticks.
Yeah, he was like, I
Yeah.
wasn't sure if they were busy or not. So he was like, I didn't want to bother them because the second one, that's the one that matters. That's the one that sticks. I was like, dude,
I know,
That kind of
at least you
right?
sucks.
got that nice ring though.
I love the brothers last season. They're dumb as hell, too. So I was hoping to see them again, or maybe his mom, was it Bunny or something? Like they were. Alan Thicke is his father. Like I wanted to see them again.
Yeah. Yeah, they were great. So let's check in on Sheila, our orgasmic friend who is suffering with persistent genital arousal disorder. So, after doing some research with Chanel number 3, we learn that it was because of the weird yoga move. That's why she has been orgasming like all the damn time. That apparently the move stimulated her pelvic nerves and it ended up inflaming a ligament, and that's what's causing the uncontrollable and constant orgasms. So Cassidy and number 3 end up taking Sheila to surgery, and they end up curing her. And like right there in the damn OR, they start making out, and they start, getting ready to bang. But they, fortunately, for Sheila's sake at least, they take it into the bedroom, and it's there. Well, Chanel number 3 has an issue with the music. She didn't want R&B because it's not really bluesy. It's more of the rhythm, and the rhythm drives her crazy and that kind of thing. And then she didn't want New Jack Swing because it reminds her of the movie New Jack City, and that reminds her of Wesley Snipes. And so there's like this whole thing, but they end up not getting it in, literally, because because Chanel number 3 still has a bit of trepidation over it, and they end up discussing his whole being dead thing, and it seems as if Chanel number 3 doesn't believe it, although, when they're kissing and stuff, and she touches him, he is ice cold. And so he ends up grabbing a thermometer, puts it in his mouth, and the temperature that reads, I believe it was 61 degrees, right?
Yeah, I all I remember is
61
being
or
like,
60.
Yeah, and so she was like, "You really are dead."
yeah, I like she just kind like I love the little like faces that she gives, like this guy's hot, like her weird silly faces are what makes this show, and like the little touches too, like the little gloves that are on her earmuffs during like that surgery scene or afterwards, her like weird I don't like R&B because it has like the rhythm isn't what's important, and like the blues, like it's nothing like blues music. Like you're right. If one of the Chanels had to die, I really like would hope it's not her.
Right? Like she's just like unique. She stands out like with subtle things.
Hmm.
Yeah, I like her a lot too. I mean, she can do a lot with very little, which is always really good. So let's check in on our orgasmic patient. Sheila has been cured. She even's got a balloon, to prove that she's been cured. And she's so happy. She's so thankful. She's like, I've already called the news media, and I'm going to share my story with them. I'm going to tell them about you two. I'm going to tell them about the Cure Institute. I'm so happy. I'm so wonderful. You all saved me. Thank you so much. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And poor Zayday, when she gave her the balloon, she was like, "Oh, this is the first time we've ever given one." And she says something, like you're the first one to survive, and she's like, "What?" And she's like, "Oh, don't worry about it." And so as they're walking through the hall, it's Zayday Chamberlain and Sheila. Out pops the green meanie, and the green meanie throws the scythe down the hallway, and it decapitates Sheila. and her head falls on top of Chamberlain's cart. And then the Green Meanie approaches both Zayday and Chamberlain, and the Meanie uses the sickle thing to slice into Chamberlain, and Zayday's not having it anymore. She's like, come on, bitch, bring it. And the Green Meanie stares Zayday down and then runs away.
Yeah.
And then Zayday goes down to Chamberlain, and she's like, you need a lot of stitches. And Chamberlain's like, why didn't he do anything to you? Why were you spared?
Yeah. But that kind of like takes away Zayday from the killer possibility board, because she was about to square up against that guy. She's like, all right, bring it. So
this isn't her first time standing up to the villain, the big bad, the big killer, and the killer not doing anything to her.
She doesn't have any Oakland nachos to save her this time.
I know, right? Well, let's continue on with Zayday, because there's another short scene. So, after everything that has happened, Hannibal Hester has been transferred to the Cure Institute. She's now in the basement, and Denise, Special Agent Denise, and Zayday are there, and basically Hester's like, why am I here now? And Zayday explains everything that's gone on, all the killings, and that she stood up to the Green Meanie, and she needs to know, why was she spared? Why was I spared? And Denise is like, yeah, then that'll be the last death in this hospital. There's going to be no more deaths in this hospital. And Hester is like, too late. The killing will continue. And so we jump from the basement to the chapel, and it is Chanel and Chad's shotgun wedding, and everything seems wonderful and perfect. We have the maids of honor, the bridesmaids, throwing flowers all around. I love the look that Zayday and Denise give each other when she's walking down the aisle. I thought it was funny.
Yeah.
And we have...
I'm just saying, like, before, like, we went off, like, remember Hester gave that weird, like, sort of vague thing where it's just kind of like that you think that there's not another victim, and she starts laughing uncontrollably. Like, that gives me...
That's creepy!
Yeah, I fucking loved her line where she's like, shut up, you homely bitch! I was like, oh my fucking god.
That was good.
Oh my god, that was hilarious.
I think we said this last time, but Denise and Hester together, they didn't have any scenes together in season 1, and I'm loving their scenes together this season.
Mm-hmm. Just like, so speaking of somebody that does so much with so little, Denise Hemphill does it. What was it like in Florida? She's like, I'm getting a little damp in the crack.
Oh my god.
Yes. To quote Denise, that's creepy. So they're walking down the aisle. I mean, even Chanel number 5 is there. She might not be on all four, and with the ring on like a saddle on her back, but she does have a little bone doggy collar, which I thought was really funny. I don't know if anybody else noticed it.
Yeah. She tried to hide it as she was walking down the aisle, but she's like, whatever. It just lets it show. It's a little pink collar.
That's too funny.
So it matches with everything.
It was. And as Chanel is walking down the aisle, our friend Kathy Munch comes on in and sits down to observe the wedding. And so everyone is at the end of the aisle. Everyone's confused. Where's Chad? Where is he? And they're like, isn't the groom supposed to walk down first? And Chanel says that no, Chad told her that he wanted her to walk down the aisle first, and they're waiting, and they're waiting, and they're waiting, and then all of a sudden, a drop of blood falls on Chanel's dress, and a little bit more blood, and she looks up, and the mural that's painted above is soaking red, and then down from the ceiling comes Chad Radwell's dead body.
No.
Boom, boom,
I'm
boom.
traumatized like that, like we're not already hurting.
Hey, you said dead body. We don't know that he's dead.
He looked pretty dead to me.
I'm
just
not.
saying.
Like, we know that he's dumb as hell, but that's what makes him really funny to be around. Like, and we're not gonna get any more of those weird shower scenes, and we're not gonna get like
Fine.
anything else. Like, although if we
I
have
feel
the
like
funeral as funny as Ariana Grande's funeral the first time around, it won't hurt as bad if we lose him.
oh my god, right? No, I think they did though, because I feel like if they had to kill some original person, it was gonna be Chad.
Well, I agree. I feel like they needed to have killed someone. And I discussed this like when we thought maybe Chanel number 5 was the one that was going to be dead. Like they need, even though he isn't a regular this season, they like needed to kill someone off from season 1 just to show that the stakes are higher this time around. And although I am
But that
sad
was the
that
thing, they tried
it
to make him
appears, at
regular
least
as well.
he's dead.
They threw him in episode 2 just to like, try to like, not the first episode because they were just trying to introduce the story, but they threw him in immediately after because I think they were trying to make him look like he was going to be a regular type thing.
Yeah, but he was always listed as a guest.
He was listed as a guest?
Mm-hmm.
Really?
Aw.
Didn't even know.
I gauge whether or not they survive based on like how active they were on Instagram on like their Scream Queens role, and he was pretty freaking active about it. So it's just to hear that he was only a guest kind of sucks. But Niecy Nash was also a guest last season, and
Correct.
she made it throughout the entire bit.
Yeah, and
so
she's still a
maybe-
guest this season.
Mhm.
I know. They better not kill Denise. Like, if someone from season 1 had to die, let it be Chad. We can't lose Denise too. Like that would be too much for my spirit.
Can I trade Chanel number 5 for Chad? Because I would have rather had him stay alive if I had to choose between one of them.
I think Chanel
No
would have
shade to
chose
any of-
that too.
No shade to any
I
of the
think-
actors or actresses. Just Chad is so brilliant. God damn.
I think they're not. I don't think they can kill Denise because of where she is
Quantico?
career wise. I think they'd actually have somebody really looking into the case if she went missing.
Well, that is true. But in the Scream Queens universe, who knows?
This
to
is
be
valid.
quite honest.
Who knows?
Exactly. So let's choose our MVP for the episode. The most valuable player, the character that impressed you the most, and why. You all know the rules. If somebody chooses your MVP, and then you have to select a different one. So we will start off with P number 1.
Oh, mine's really transparent. You know who it's gonna be. It's Chad. Like, bearing in mind that it might be the last time I get to say that he's my favorite. He's also like his practicing of like cutting off hands, that weird bow tying scene, the shower scene, like everything of his this episode was pretty fucking perfect. Even him proposing with freaking mariachis in the background with the kids beating up a piñata. Like, he's just the best. And if we lose him, I'm gonna miss him.
Aw. And Priscilla, you actually just mentioned a scene that I didn't reference, but that was the scene where Brock was basically like, you don't have to do surgery on my hands anymore because I couldn't possibly be the killer, because it's someone that has to be, at least what they're thinking, someone that has to be 30 years old. So, Prince, P number 2, who's your MVP and why?
Zayday, because she bout it. She was like, yo, bitch, let's get it. I'm bout it. Let's get it. And I was like, yo, that's my ninja.
Yes, good choice. I agree. That's nice.
All right now. So my MVP for the episode is Chanel number 3, and for all the reasons that were expressed in this episode. Just her looks, her accessories, whether she's, dressed up appropriately for surgery or not, her lack of orgasms, her revelations with Cassidy, blowing kisses, like everything about Chanel number 3 was on point this episode. And of course, we got to go with the facial expressions as well. I mean, she always brings it to these episodes. So now it's time for the big question. Who is the Green meanie. And the rules are you may select two people, so the green meanie and his or her accomplice. Why do you think they could be the green meanie? And who do you think they are? So we'll go in the same order. P number one.
I think the whole stabbing Chamberlain is a misdirect, and that it is Chamberlain as one of the green meanies because they didn't kill him. And he's there to conveniently say, why didn't he kill you? And the reason that they didn't kill Zayde is because the other green meanie is the mom of Chamberlain. I think it's Nurse Hoffel. And Nurse Hoffel didn't kill Zayde because she doesn't want to kill the girl that her son likes. But yeah, Those are my two: Nurse Hoffel and Chamberlain.
P number two.
Are we allowed? Can I second that?
Yes, you may.
Oh, Priscilla hit it right on the head. She pretty much said everything I was going to say. Like, I think if this is how we're gonna play, like this is obvious, like Hester says, and it's right in our faces, that would be the obvious.
Okay. And I'm going to echo as well. For this episode, I feel like it's Chamberlain and Nurse Hoffel. If at some point we get evidence that there's an additional person, kind of like last season, I would add in Cassidy. Because I like the theory, and I don't forget who said it last time. It might have been Wilson, where he said maybe Cassidy and Chamberlain were friends growing up or something like that. And that's how they connected. And with his hatred of the treatment of like the medical system with his family and whatnot, that maybe that's why the three of them, Hoffel, Chamberlain, and Cassidy, teamed up to become the Green Meanie. Maybe. Because I still feel like if you have an actor like Taylor Lautner on a show like this, you're not just going to have him be, like the romantic interest of one of the characters. He's got to have a bigger role, and he's going to do something besides, quote unquote, I'm dead, I think.
Yeah, although the lack of chemistry he has with Chanel number 3 is perfect for the thing. Like, their lack of chemistry together makes sense. So if it was just him being there for that reason, it's a pretty damn good reason. I like him as just a romantic interest. To be more would be fucking awesome. But if he's just going to be that the entire season, I wouldn't be mad.
I just feel like he's a movie star. Like, they've got to give him more to do than just to be a love interest.
Yeah, but you also have to realize after the break of where he is that, like, I could see them playing just a love interest.
He's still a big name. I would say he's one of the bigger names on the series, as far as like in particular newbies, and even comparing him to some of the veterans. I mean, obviously Jamie Lee is an icon in her own right, so not including her, but out of like the young talent, I would say he's probably got the bigger name and maybe even the bigger bank account.
Him and Abigail Breslin are the only like movie stars in this.
Yeah, I think though kind of
Kiki was a movie star. I mean, she still is, but she was mostly in movies before.
Kiki's a movie star, singer, and TV actress. She does it all.
Yeah. So I could see them, because I still feel like Cassidy looks more like the man that played the father, the one that was tossed into the swamp. So I could see them maybe having him be the child, and maybe Chamberlain they sort of brought in, but I could also see Chamberlain being the child and them bringing Cassidy into the mix. If they end up doing like what they did last season, where there's, someone that's an adult, of age, 40s-ish plus, who, sort of concocts this plan and, gathers these wronged individuals and that kind of thing. And in this sense, it would be their child and maybe a friend or something like that. But it's interesting. I think we're all in the same wavelength, though. So it'll be nice to see if this is what Hannibal Hester is talking about. Like, this is right in her face, everybody. Right? Maybe? No?
No, yeah. It kind of blew my mind that she's like, it's right in front of your faces, and you guys are too dumb to notice it. So if it really is just like Chamberlain and Hoffel, like, I'm not going to second guess myself now and go for like the more crazy theory. I'm just going to go with what's like easy.
Yeah.
And it's Chamberlain.
Because last season, Ryan Murphy was telling everyone in his interviews, it's right in your face, basically. You know, it's obvious. You would have known in episode 1. So if it's like that this season, then I guess that's the thing that makes the most sense. But I guess we'll find out as we continue along. So join us next time for a brand new installment of Are You Afraid? Scream Queens. Once again, here's our announcer to remind you on how you can interact with us.
Follow Poppy Chula Radio on social media. We are on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, at Poppy Chula Radio. Do you have any questions, suggestions, comments, or concerns? Email us via contact@poppychularadio.com. Are you interested in joining the Poppy Chula Radio team as an on-air personality? Email talent@poppychularadio.com. Binge listen to your favorite Poppy Chula Radio programs by visiting poppychularadio.com/archives. You can also download tonight's broadcast and the rest of the series through iTunes. Just search for Are You Afraid? Scream Queens, and subscribe.
Thanks, announcer. Co-hosts, please wish the listeners a good night.
Good night, everybody.
Good night, everybody. Be careful for green meanies.
Thanks for tuning in. Download new episodes of Are You Afraid? Scream Queens every Thursday via iTunes and the Poppy Chula Radio archives. New episodes stream via poppychularadio.com every Thursday at 9 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Pacific. Good night.